Welcome again to another episode of Code Play. Today I'm going to follow up on last episode with Bart, where he showed how to do tests and run tests with Jest. I've been working mostly with Angular for the last couple of years, so I'm more familiar with Jasmine. Jasmine is the BDD testing framework for JavaScript, and it comes bundled with Angular when you create a new project using the Angular CLI. So that's the reason why I'm more familiar with Jasmine and not with Jest. I think Jest started to be more popular with React developers. So I prepared two simple examples here based on what Bart showed on the previous episode. This is the first one. I'm not that familiar with creating projects from scratch because I'm lazy. That's the number one reason. And the other one is because Angular gets my back on that. And I can just create a new project with a simple command. So I had to investigate a bit how to get this working, but I got something that we can demo today. So our spec files will live inside this spec folder, and I created a simple class here where we have this calculator that will just add two numbers. And I created a fancy one that uses a service just so we can go through the example of how to mock stuff or assert that dependencies were called. That's the fancy calculator service. And yeah, so everything that I'm using here is on the package.json. There we go. And yeah, this will be published in the with the video. It's already on GitHub, and this, for example, and the other one. Right, this will be fun. So without further ado, let's just run the test and see what happens. Run test.
Loads company back there.
So as we can see, the test ran and passed, so happy days. So in Jasmine, we set up our fixture with the describe. It's the top level. You can nest them. So like when I'm testing particular functionality and I want to write more than one test for that functionality or that method in particular, I usually create a describe. So we could do something here like exactly like this. Something, and I would say this is the add method, and then I say here.
So are you nesting the describe now?
Yeah, and I'll show this in a method. This will group my tests by method. So instead of having multiple as at the main level, I will have a top level, which is calculator, which is the name of the class, and then I'll have a subgroup that will be my add tests if I want to have multiple ones. It just helps when we are seeing the list of tests, and I'll show that better in the next example. I didn't go through the trouble of creating fancy reporters on this example because I have all of those on the next one, but you can see here a simple example where they show if they pass and if we make them fail. Oops. We'll also see that something passed because calculator and now it says add should return 2 and 2 when 2 when 1 is added to 1. So this is how we would read this. Calculator comes from the top describe, add comes from the second describe, And then we have the title of our test, which is should return 2 when 1 is added to 1. So let's make it. So this is the calculator class, which has this method add. And now if we want, for this one fancy calculation, I created a service that has an implementation. It's how do you say that in English? Getting the power of that number, of the first number to the power of the second one. So on this particular test calculator, I'm not particularly interested in how fancy calculation is working. It's not a responsibility of calculator. It's a dependency. Fancy calculator is a dependency. So if we follow the single responsibility principle, I shouldn't be testing what this is doing. And to do so, I would have to, in the calculator spec, to stop this thing and return a result or something. I just prefer to do what calculator is expected to do, which is when I call fancy calculation, I expect that the fancy calculator service is called, and it should be called with the right parameters, and that's what we are doing here. So if I say that I pass value 1 as the first parameter, and then I pass, or argument, and then I pass the other one, value 2 as the second argument, and then I run the test again. This should fail because it's going to say that he expected 1 to be equal to 2 because I lied here, so it verifies what I want. I'm doing the right thing. I'm calling this method, and I'm calling the service with the right arguments. And actually, this thing is not used because I'm not getting a response here, and that's not my objective when I do this. So on the fancy calculator service, which is actually the one that tests what the fancy calculator should do, I added two tests here. If I break those tests, like I'm going to say that I want 2 to the power of 1, which will not be 4. I will get probably expecting a result saying that 2 is not 1, it's not 4, sorry. So this is working, and just because I can inject here some problems, which was the reason why I also added this test. I follow the TDT principle, so I wrote the test first, and then I implemented the functionality. So I wrote the bare minimum code to make this pass, and the implementation.
Sorry, can I ask a question, Ricardo? You mentioned TDT principles. What are those?
So on test-driven development, the production code is written after you write the test. So it just improves the design of your test and makes it more testable. So when I was doing this particular example, I wrote this test first, and I didn't have the implementation, so the test was failing. And then I wrote the simplest code necessary to make the test pass. So I started with multiplying value 1 with value 2, and that made the test pass. I'm going to comment the other one. So on Jasmine, you can focus on a particular test by using the F, and by writing fit, only that test runs. Or you can exclude tests. This works for tests and fixtures, so I can use also on the describe. Or you can do it the other way around, which is exclude a particular test or a particular street. I know that this test will fail because of the change that I made, so I'm going to run all the tests like this and ignore this one. And you'll see here that one test was ignored. So apparently, I would say that this works. So I'm multiplying 2 by 2, and yeah, 2 to the square is 4, and that's correct. And then when I wrote this test, when I do it to the power of 3 or to the cube. Is that valid in English? I don't know. That's how we say in Portuguese. And then I ran the test. It showed that I had a problem in my code because it was multiplying 2 by 3, and that's not the cube. So I had to do a change on my code, and apparently the operator in JavaScript is 2 stars, which I didn't know until I did this demo. So
same.
Oops. Always learning. So if we go npm run test. Oh, actually, I should have run this like that to show. Oh, yeah, I did that. And it showed that it failed. So when we do to the power, it passes, and happy days. So as I said, this is not my usual environment. I'm not using things like this. I have a bit more help from Angular. And so I created a new example here. You can see that the folder structure is a bit different. I'm going to get rid of this folder for a particular reason. So if you use the Angular CLI and you do something like ng-new and then you add the name of the project that you want, you'll get a similar structure, and you can see more about running the famous help.
So
command.
Did you create an ng-new with Jasmine built into it? Oh, that's nice.
So so when you create a new Angular project, and I can create a new one, ng-new test project.
So Jasmine is the default then?
Jasmine will be the default. Before version 12, I don't need routing. I can go with CSS. Before Angular 12, every project was created bundled with Jasmine as a testing framework and Karma as a test runner, and Protractor as the end-to-end test framework. Since version 12, they did a poll a few months ago asking what people wanted, and because people are using nowadays Cypress as end-to-end test framework, they don't bundle anymore with the end-to-end test framework, and you have to install the one that you want. So that's actually what I was doing with this project. I was installing and I was seeing what you have. Apparently, you also have to install the linter now. It was bundled with TS-lint, and because TS-lint has been deprecated for some time, apparently now it's not bundled with anything, and it's up to the developer to decide what they want to use. What I can show you here before even this is done is that we have a Karma conf. So we definitely are getting Karma bundled as default. I'm going to stop this. We don't care really. And if I open test project, I don't want to open the folder, to open file. If I go to the test projects and package JSON, yes, you can see that this comes with types Jasmine and Karma Jasmine and Jasmine HTML reporter, so it's bundled with.
So what's the difference in the Angularjson and the package JSON then?
Oh, the Angularjson is the manifest of the Angular solution. You have all the description, like which one is the default project, how many projects you have. By default, when you create an Angular solution, you have one workspace with one project. You have at the end of this file which default project you have. But if you want to have multiple projects inside the same workspace, you can. And this will have the architect, which has a set of actions or tasks, how to build the Angular project, how to serve, how to extract the internationalization, how to run the test. Because I added Cypress, I also have how to run Cypress and end-to-end, and auto-lint because I added ESLint. You get all of that. So it just gets you these tasks, and it's the manifest for the Angular solution. We can do further episode on Angular, but that's the quick run through or overview on how this works.
Yeah, the question was because I was expecting the definitions to be in package.json, but maybe I misread it, and I saw you selected Angularjson, and then you showed that the Karma and the Jasmine were dependencies, but maybe that was just the package.json showed then.
Yeah, I was showing the package.json, but yeah, that's what the Angularjson is. So here we can see also the stuff that was bundled plus everything else that I added on top of that. When we get that, we also get a few scripts, NPM scripts that come bundled with that, such as this, start, build, I'm not sure if watch was part of them, maybe it was, and test and E2E, those are defaults. And yeah, I'm running E2E, but that was an accident. Back to our folder. So when you do this, the convention is that the tests are close to the component, and the Angular CLI will create the tests for you. Every time that you create a new component, let's say ng generate component, or you can say ng gc because I'm lazy, and we call test to this. So Angular will generate files for me, and it generates the template file HTML, it generates the spec file for the unit tests, the component, and the CSS file. So this is what end up generated. So just to say that the test is always next to the component, or if you create a service.
So this will create a test file for every class in your code.
Yeah, for every component. And if I do a service, for instance, it will create a service for me, and it will do the same thing. So now I have test service here. I could have said that I wanted to create a particular folder, but I didn't, so that's why this is in the base. And the way that Angular works, this also adds the components and the services and all of that to the actually the service is not added to the
that's a great feature. Will that work with Jest like I showed in the previous episode?
We would have to try. I would assume so, because
maybe
this is part of the Angular schematics, and Jest also uses the spec PS, right? Or something similar. So I would say yes, but we can try. We can do a session on
pretty much similar
on Angular at some point, and we can try that for sure. So going back to the tests, so we get all of those, and you can see here, if I go to the test component, for instance, that Angular not only creates the file, but creates the base of the test. So you can start with that. So if I just issue npm run test, all my tests in this particular project will be run at some point, and hopefully all of them will pass. If not, we'll have to figure out what's going on. In this particular scenario, Karma will run in the browser, and as you can see here, you have the top level title of the describe with the name of the component, and then it has each test, the it part of the code with item of that particular test fixture. If I go to the app component, for instance, and I do that thing that we did before, let's say that this one is the should create. This one's actually, this is not about the title. It should render you have clicked time section. It's something like that. And title. I have an extension on VS Code that lets me know that I have typos because, again, I'm lazy and I like all the help that I can get. I also have a few snippets. That's why I'm getting this, that I defined myself.
I wouldn't call it lazy. Let's call it productive or effective.
Yeah,
yeah, productivity tools. Assert, number of time, something like that. I'm just making an example so we can see how this shows. Actually, I can use the.
So this is asserting another group of tests.
Yeah. So this one shows the reporter is a bit different than the other one. The other one was showing just some number, some dots. This one is showing it a bit different. And it's in watch mode. That's why this is always running. Every time that I change stuff, it runs. And now you can see here that the top level is app component that we have here. And because I added a new describe, I have the assert sub type here, and then you have that one. And this helps me sometimes to see which tests belong to what. So that's why I use this. You can also create different files. It's up to you. This is a matter of style. So all tests pass. So what happens if they don't pass? So let's say that what we have is you click the button 10 times. The moment that I save my file, this is launched again, and it says that you expected you have clicked 0 times, but it was clicked 10 times, so it fails, and yeah, it works the way that we want. And the reporter on the console will say that 1 failed and 7 success. So all of that is very pretty. And another thing that Bart showed on the previous episode was that we had some nice code coverage reports, and yeah, eventually something like that. So to do that, we have to instruct our test runner to get us the code coverage. And I have a few things here on the side that I can copy just to be more productive. And yeah, so all the magic is happening on the karma conf file that I showed previously. So this is instructing the karma test runner, the plugins that we need. You can see here the Chrome launcher. That's why we see that on Chrome. We have Karma Jasmine, we have the HTML reporter, and we have one called coverage. And when we run with coverage, I added here the threshold. So by default, this part, this part check and watermarks is not bundled by default. I added this, and you have more on the Karma and yeah, Karma documentation. I'll share the link too.
Yeah, I think it's a great feature for further integration and such. It's a must-have if you'll integrate it in a pipeline someplace.
Yeah, you can also use the reporter to generate an external file, an XML file like JUnit, if I'm not wrong, that then the pipeline will read and yeah, get you more information on that or show what tests will run, stuff like that. So this thing is coloring these lines. If I remove this, we'll get all in yellow, if I'm not wrong. And the other thing that is happening, and that was the folder that I deleted in the beginning, was this coverage folder. I'm a huge fan of this. And usually when I'm developing features or adding code coverage, if we don't have enough code coverage, And yeah, even if it's TDT or whatever, I rely heavily on that tool. And I'll show to you in a second. Actually, I got the colors, so I'm a bit confused now. So about this folder, if you run this fella with your, oops, let me try this again. With other browsers. You get something like this, and usually I have this on the other screen. And if I'm working on a particular component, like let's say the greeting component, it shows me the parts of the code that are not tested, and then I write the test and I check if they are covered. And I'm happy when I'm as close to 100% as possible. Sometimes it's not possible to have 100%. Because we have some external dependencies or something that we cannot test. But yeah, I like to have it as at least my code covered 100%, because if in a future iteration I break something, I have a quick feedback and I know that I broke something.
Yeah, that's where the real power shows of this coverage. So if you have just a greenfield project and this is the first check-in, then it wouldn't be very useful. But when a few months pass and you create something new and you see that something broke or something is forgotten to be added, then
when I'm developing, I have this
visual.
Usually on watch mode as I had before. So every time that I make a change, this runs again. But of course, you should have also that on the pipeline to make sure that when you push your code and you are going to integrate with everyone else, it's building, it's passing, everything is working, and you're not injecting malicious code and broken builds to your teammates, because that will make you probably get the golden toilet by the end of the year as the person who breaks the build more times. So if we want to run the code coverage and we don't want to be in watch mode, we can add the flag no watch, and then it just runs once and then stops. So typically I have in watch mode while I'm developing, and then when I think I'm done, I run the coverage just to see how far I am. It depends. I just don't like to be running the code coverage in watch mode because it just has a lot running at the same time. So in this case, it just ran and then it just.
It can be quite intrusive as well, because I know I'm busy with it. Stop complaining about it.
Yeah. No, I played a bit here with the values of the threshold in the config, so we could get different things. So of course, if I make everything 100%.
But for me, it's the same as linting. If you configure it too tightly, that it's every second it's checking it, then I know I just created an error. I'm busy with it.
No, but I still like it because I tend to, if I don't fix it immediately, I will probably forget. So yeah, I like to get all the help that I can. You can also use something like Husky or something and have pre-commit hooks, and you can run linting and testing and all of that. And
I love how easy Visual Studio Code makes it with the plugins to do it in the EDA IDE.
So just to finalize, because I've been talking too much already. If you don't want the browser to open every time that you run the test, you can change the browser here to a Chrome headless, or you can also create a script like this, where you say which browser you want to use, yeah, this won't launch the browser. You can also have scripts, like if you want to, that use different browsers. You can have one that uses Chrome, another one that uses Edge, another one that uses Internet Explorer, for whoever still uses Internet Explorer, you never know. One for Firefox, one for whatever. You can have multiple scripts, and then you can run them in the pipeline, for instance, and you know that whatever you are working is working for multiple browsers. So if you do this, yeah, we won't launch the Chrome window with the tests, and everything just runs on the console. So as I said, the code that I showed today, except for the few changes that I made along the process, will be available on the. It's already available on GitHub, and it will be available on the YouTube channel. And yeah, if you want to disagree with something that I said or teach me something, just engage. Let me know. Write a comment or do something. And maybe you can also join us for a further or next episode and share your wisdom. Thanks for joining us today. I don't know if Bart or Michaela want to say anything.
No, I think you made the right pitch. Let's engage. Let's hear your comments.
Yeah, I was really happy to sit in on this. Obviously, watching Bart's and now your one shows a lot of insight on the different frameworks that these tests run on. So yeah, I'm excited to learn more. It's very new to me, so I'm listening a lot and learning a lot from Ricardo today. So that's great.
Okay, thank you, and see you soon.
Great.
Bye.
See you soon.